Hello dear viewers, welcome back to CarWale. I'm Bilal and the peak Mumbai monsoon is upon us. But we've got two desirable cars with us today, so instead of waiting for the rains to recede, we have decided that the show must go on. I say desirable because everyone wants an SUV these days. But for us petrol heads, the charm of an old school 3-box sedan, it's evergreen. Although the Honda City and the Volkswagen Virtus belong to the same segment, have a similar pricing and more or less the same feature list, there are a lot of differences between the two. So we have got them together. No, not for a head-to-head comparison, but in this video we'll be telling you about their fuel efficiency and performance.
Once again, this isn't our usual in-depth comparison covering everything, including things like which one looks better, who's got more features and which is more practical and all that. For those details, you can take a look at their individual model pages on our website www.carwale.com. You'll find all the details and some more.
So if you are a fence-sitter looking to buy either of the two over an SUV, do stick till the end. And before we begin, here's a little reminder to like, share and subscribe to the CarWale YouTube channel. And if you like this video, which I'm sure you definitely will, also hit the like button on the video and share it with your friends and family and everyone you know. While at it, also hit the bell icon so you can be notified whenever we upload a new video, especially when it's shot in such a lovely weather.
The Honda City needs no introduction. It has been around for a lot longer. That's close to 25 years in India alone across many generations. It is available with two engine options right now, a petrol and a diesel. The diesel is a familiar 1.5 litre 4-cylinder making 98 bhp and 200 Newton meter, and it can be had only with a manual gearbox. There's also a new hybrid City launched in India a couple of months back. We have driven it and you can find a link to it on your screen. But for a more detailed road test of the City Hybrid, stay tuned to CarWale.
And that brings us to this, the 1.5 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, petrol engine of the Honda City. It's not exactly the same i-VTEC which was offered with the previous generation City because it was heavily reworked when this generation arrived almost 2 years back. It can be had with a 6-speed manual, which is what we are driving today, or a CVT automatic. And the power figures, it's just under 120 bhp and around 145 Newton meter of torque. Meanwhile, the Virtus is an all-new contender in this C segment. There's no diesel engine in this Volkswagen for now, but there are two petrol engine options. You get this 1 litre TSI petrol engine, which is turbocharged 3-cylinder and puts out around 114 bhp of power and 178 Newton meter. It can be had either with a 6-speed manual, which we have here right now, or an automatic, which isn't a DSG but a torque converter. And if you really want a DSG, you'll have to go for the other engine, which is a 1.5 litre TSI Evo, which has a healthy output of around 148 bhp and 250 Newton meter.
The ARAI claim for the Virtus 1 litre manual is 19.40 kmpl. Over to the City, the claimed fuel efficiency is 17.8 kmpl. For this video, we won't be looking at these ARAI claimed figures. Regular CarWale viewers are familiar with our tank-to-tank methods of finding out real-world fuel efficiency, which is not only consistent but an accurate depiction of what a powertrain's fuel efficiency would be out in the real world. We did the same fuel efficiency test for both the City and the Virtus in the same condition with the same driver behind the wheel.
When you start up the 1 litre TSI of this Volkswagen Virtus, it starts with a lot of refinement, with neither of those vibrations, despite this being a 3-cylinder. We expected a little more torque lower down the rev range, but since it's a turbocharged engine,
The meat of the matter is in the mid-range, so you'll have to keep working the gearbox slightly more so to get the best out of the motor. That brings us to the gearbox. Now we have already seen this very gearbox in the Taygun and the Kushag as well, and still we expected a little bit more feedback and the feel from this 6-speed manual, but that's not exactly what we expected. It's a bit notchy, but the throws are nice. Even visibility behind the wheel is quite good actually. You have this thin A-pillar, good view over the bonnet, and overall it's a nice place to be in. With this modern cabin, the steering, it feels quite right in your arms, and even when tackling corners, going around the tight places inside the city and the traffic, parking the car, it's the steering, it's quite good. You can upshift before 2000 RPM, but the lack of low-end grunt would leave you wanting for more. But once the turbo is all spooled up and ready to go around 2500 RPM, there's an instant response from the engine. This engine also gets engine start-stop function, which promptly switches off the engine when, say, you arrive at a traffic light. And it doesn't start back the engine until the clutch is engaged, thus saving precious fuel each time. This should definitely help the fuel efficiency figures of the Virtus in this test. On the flip side, it's not the best sounding motor though, and that's fundamentally because of its 3-cylinder configuration. On the positive side, there's a good amount of shove from this 1000cc motor, and you can easily hold triple-digit speeds without straining the motor. Now get behind the wheel of the Honda City and you'd instantly notice how refined this naturally aspirated 4-cylinder is. It's vibration free and it's quite rev happy as well, but it's still got a good amount of low end grunt. So for instance, you are in 5th gear or 6th gear even in city doing speed of around 50 to 60 km per hour, but then you have to brake and then the speed reduces to say 30 km per hour, but the engine still wouldn't stutter. So this reduces your need of gear shifts, constant gear shifts when driving in the city. Which brings us to the gearbox and the clutch. Now the clutch, it's very light, although a bit spongy, it's very light and has good travel. And this gear lever, it sits perfectly in your palm with the elbow resting on the armrest, and the slots are short, sweet, and although a bit notchy, it slides into the gear quite nicely. The visibility behind the wheel is also pretty good in the city, so you have good view of the road around, and the seating position, it's also quite comfortable and very ergonomic as well. So spending long hours behind the wheel shouldn't be a problem. Now as they say, there's no replacement for displacement. That stands true for low speed drivability of the Honda City. In stop and go traffic, it gains momentum effortlessly and gets up to speed quite cleanly. And as you up the pace, you can even skip a gear and the engine would settle in without sounding stressed. On the highways, the Honda City's cruising ability is commendable as well. From standstill to 100 km per hour, the City Petrol manual accelerates faster in comparison. As seen in the acceleration time, it took 4.78 seconds to accelerate to 60 km per hour from a standstill. Doing the same, the Virtus bogs down when launched aggressively. This is the reason why it's slower to 60 km per hour and 100 km per hour from a standstill, resulting in a time of 5.35 seconds for the former. But it's a different story when it comes to roll-on acceleration. In a 20 to 80 km per hour test in 3rd gear, the Virtus is exactly 2 seconds quicker than the City. The difference is larger still as the speed increases, as is evident from our 40 to 80 km per hour test in 4th gear. The Virtus is 5 seconds quicker than the City, and that's purely because of the stronger mid-range it has when it's on a boost. The City's 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine doesn't have that strong surge and pull in the mid-range that you get in a turbocharged engine of the Virtus. At the end of the fuel run, we found out the real-world fuel efficiency of the Volkswagen Virtus petrol manual came to 15.39 kmpl in the city and 19.52 kmpl on the highway. Equate it and you get an overall fuel efficiency of 16.35 kmpl. With a tank capacity of 45 liters, you could realistically go around 730 kilometers in a tank full. On the other hand, the Honda City 1.5 litre petrol manual returned a fuel efficiency of 14.1 kmpl in the city and 18.24 kmpl on the highway. That comes down to an overall real-world fuel efficiency of 15.17 kmpl. The city has got a tank size of 40 liters, so the real-world range of it could be little over 600 kilometers. We admit both these sedans have completely different definitions for their engines. One is a Japanese high-revving naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. The other is a small 3-cylinder turbocharged German that's born out of engine downsizing. But after driving these cars back to back, we have come to realize that both have their own merits and limitations. The city's engine is very refined at everyday speeds and offers a linear surge in performance for the most part. The Virtus 1 litre on the other hand punches hard owing to its turbo power and has the ability to turn everyday commutes into something slightly more exciting.
Well, I for one never thought that I'd be so happy to do a conclusion piece to the camera. Well, because first of all, we never thought the shoot would happen in such incessant rain. But we pulled it off and we have given you the fuel economy and the performance of these two C-segment sedans. But would they be your choice in an SUV dominated market? Do let us know your opinion in the comment section below. And apart from these powertrains, there are more engine options that you can buy for these two cars. So if you want a similar video for them as well, do let us know in the comments and we'll be definitely happy to oblige, albeit in a better conditions for sure. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.